I'm on my way to Salt Lake City as we speak to sell a friend. A companion, if you will, that has been with me through thick and thin for 6 months, through good photo shoots, through better photo shoots, and provided me with imagery that I love and that will stay with me for a lifetime. But as painful as it is, it's time. It's time to let this friend go. And that friend... I will remember you. Will you remember me? Grieving process over. So I decided to come to Capitol Hill today. So since I'm already in Salt Lake, I figured maybe I should get an opportunity to shoot some film. On a Saturday, it'll probably be a little bit slow. It's okay. If I get bored there, I'm gonna go down to this park, which also looks dead because it's so cold and I forgot my gloves. That's okay, because this is worth it. Cool. Today I'm shooting with the Rollei again. I want to do some film. I haven't done any film shooting for a while. It's been too long. So this thing's getting beat up, by the way. I'm not easy going on my cameras. I think I'm in the market for a new one. Plus this is the 3.5 Zeiss lens on it, which is a super sharp lens, but I would like to try the 2.8 that comes on the 35S or the SE, I think. So anyway, I'm in the market for that. Today I'm going to shoot with the Rollei, and I brought some Acros 100 that I'll push to. It's a cloudy day. I probably should have brought some 400 film, but I wasn't really thinking, and I was in a huge hurry. This all came together kind of last minute. So I'm going to stick the 100 Acros in here, and I'm gonna push it to 400. I don't know. Maybe I should do 16. But can Acros film be pushed to 1600? I can't remember. I think I've done it before, but I don't know. So maybe I'm gonna research on my phone before I commit. But I do love the Rollei, even though it's zone focus. I just love how teeny it is. So compact, allows you to kind of be really inconspicuous with your shots. It's nice. It's fun. Yeah, it looks like it's not a good idea to push to 1600. I was looking at some examples of somebody who'd done it on accident, and they were super high contrast, and I do like high contrast, but that's just, I am gonna push to 800. Nice little compromise. I think that's all I can get away with. And inside this building, I'm probably gonna have to shutter speed it at 30. I can't handhold less than 30 from my own experience. It's super cold, and I don't have gloves, so I don't know how long I'll stay outside. I might do a lot of shots inside the Capitol building, but it's so dark. I have the wrong kind of film, so kind of catch-22. But the first thing I'm gonna do is try to shoot this really cool looking vehicle over here. I don't even know what it is, but I'll see if the guy's okay with me shooting it. Okay if I take some pictures of your car? Beautiful. Beautiful car. Did I mention that it's cold? Well, I'm at that critical juncture where I have shot this roll dry. I shot that first roll, but I don't have time to shoot another roll, so I'm calling it quits on the Rollei, but I don't feel done. So now I'm just gonna bust out the X-T2. Well, I already busted it out because it's actually what I'm using to film this. So I probably won't record the rest of this because I'll be shooting with the X-T2, but I will show you the shots I get.
Nothing. You're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen.
Thank you.
I must be dreaming.
I'm happy with what I got today. I enjoyed it. Felt like it was inspirational even though it was cold. And you know, one thing I wanted to say, I don't actually like black and white very much, usually. That's not my first choice when I'm doing for real, quote unquote, photography. But I do it because it makes me focus on two things that I'm really concerned about as a photographer, getting better at anyway, and that is contrast and composition, those two C's. When I'm seeing the world in black and white, it's easier for me to just focus on shapes, and that's important for me in practice. I compare it to when I'm designing. I'm a graphic designer slash UX designer as well for my full-time job. And when I'm designing software, I don't start out in Photoshop or Illustrator or some graphic design tool. I start out hand drawing ideas. And I feel like that's what this sort of thing is for me. Black and white is like sketching for me. I know that there are other people who use black and white as their choice of medium, and that's cool. I'm not saying you can't or that you shouldn't. It's just not what I do. I do it for practice only, and I feel like it makes me a better photographer.
You got the backdrop, you got the stands?
Yes, I got everything.
You got the camera, lights, batteries?
So now we're on our way to another shoot, but this time Danae's with me. Hi, Danae. And yeah, so it's been a good photography day. It's been a fortunate Saturday. It's a Christmas party for like a warehouse place. I don't know, what is it? What do they do? I don't even know what they do. It's all these people, and they have their families, and they all want pictures in front of a cheesy backdrop. Not our proudest moment as photographers tonight, but hey, it's fun, and it pays the bills. Actually, it doesn't even close to pay the bills. Doesn't even like scratch the surface, because she just spends too much money on photo gear. Try to tell her not to, but she doesn't listen to me.
Denial. You've got issues.
I've got issues.
You're pointing the finger at me.
No, not a finger, a camera. Anyway, I never explained why I had to part with my beloved 85 1.2. Our beloved 85 1.2 this morning. And when I told Danae that I was selling it, she was shocked, huh, Danae? Why were you shocked?
Because it's a really good lens.
And I didn't really adequately explain to her the reasoning behind the sale. Because I know I've talked in other vlogs about how hard it, or how I don't want to sell it. And I haven't found an adequate replacement in the Fuji land. So why am I selling, you ask? Well, the biggest reason is because we went out to California and we shot a wedding of Danae's really good friend, and I'm now dealing with the aftermath of having a Canon and a Fuji body at that event, and I don't like it. I don't like having two different sensors and two different formats of photography to deal with. It creates a lot more work. And if I had to choose, if you gave me a Canon body any of them and the X-T2 and said, which of these do you want to shoot with? I mean, the decision is so easy. It's the X-T2 any day. It's so much easier to shoot with. Not just easier, but enjoyable. The other thing is I have really bad wrists, and it's just a heavy lens. So the X-T2 is just so light, and those lenses are light. So it was hard. It was hard to part with, but we'll survive. A month or so ago, somebody saw one of my vlogs, and they saw how I was handling my film, that I was like touching it and stuff, and they didn't like that, I guess. I don't care about this at all. It goes in the trash after I scan it. I'm not a film photographer. I don't shoot film when I'm at all invested in the results of the shoot. If I'm emotionally invested in them, or more importantly, if someone's paying me, I'm not going to use film. And the most important reason why is because I'm not very good at it. But the other reason is because film is, I feel like, a terrible medium for professional work, most professional work. It's not as quick. You run a lot more risk. So, and I'm sure there are people that disagree with me, and that's fine for them. But film for me is practice, as I mentioned before. And I don't enlarge it. I don't keep it. I don't want to keep it. I have enough stuff in my life. Some of those photos I care a little bit about long term, but not enough to where I'm going to invest much else into them. So anyway, the film itself, it's not important to me. So I apologize for offending the film people with how I treat the film, but So just a few more points on why I like to shoot film for when I'm just practicing. I really like, especially with this little guy, this Rollei's hard to shoot with, this Rollei 35. It's not the easiest camera to use. I mean, you've got your distance here in either meters or feet. It's got limited aperture, limited shutter speed. I mean, it only goes to a 500th of a second. It's range focus or zone focus only, so there's a lot of guesswork. I would never take this along if I was out to get photos that I was invested in emotionally. But why do I do it? Because it makes you focus on some important things that I feel like make me a better photographer. I have to focus on the distance to my subject. I have to think about that. I never have to think about that with digital, and I think there's value in that. The speed of the film is a factor that you have to consider, and light, and having limits creatively, I feel like, can free sometimes creatively. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but that's something that Da Vinci believed, and it's something that I believe. It forces me to think about how I'm holding the camera and to try to be rock steady in my technique. Something that if you're a Sony shooter, or if you have built-in image stabilization in either your lens or your body, you're not as worried about, and maybe you don't have to worry as much about. And that's great. I think it's wonderful that we have to worry about it less when the stakes are high. But I feel like we should be practicing these techniques. So it forces me to do that. It makes me slow down and think about composition and shots. It teaches me patience, which I struggle with. I'm super not patient in general, and this teaches me patience. And it forces me to envision the final results more. When I can't see them immediately, I don't get the instant gratification. I think it teaches me some valuable lessons in between the shot and the post-production. The last thing, though, that I also like about film and makes me really enjoy the process is that it has so much character and uniqueness that I feel like sometimes with digital it's sterile and it's repeatable and it's predictable, and that can be boring for me. I really like the character you can get with film. And again, I'm not super good at it yet. There are people who are a lot better, who understand that character and use it to their advantage. But I see the romance in it. So enough about that. Let's talk about the photos that I got and some lessons learned. As I pull these up and look at them, there's a few things that occurred to me that I think are worth remembering and maybe even talking about. And one of those things is that I I was super lazy when I scanned these. Really, I just stuck the film up to a light source, and then I shot it with my Mark II with a 100mm macro. And I wasn't super level, and I didn't really think about it until later. And so these shots have some serious tilt shift in them, which I wasn't going for. In some cases, I think it's kind of I almost like it. But so, I mean, if I was more patient, or if I really cared about these shots, which I don't think these are that spectacular, I would go back and rescan them. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll well, no, I won't, because I just threw them away. So I'm not going to rescan them. But I don't feel that bad because these are not that important to me. So I'm just going to roll with the tilt shift on these. But anyway, I did learn that you could, if you wanted to, do some cool tilt shift in when scanning your film, if you wanted to. I also learned that I can't trust the light meter. I guess I don't have it on me, but I use a light meter app on the Android, and it was giving me bad results. Unfortunately, I trusted it early on when I was outside, and I got overexposed images. I didn't feel really good about it, and later I just went with more of my gut, because my battery was dead in this. I have actually replaced it now, but my light meter wasn't working. But turns out my instincts were pretty good. I think the rest of my exposures were pretty well, not bad. The other thing that I learned was that I think I've pushed Acros 100 to 800 before, and I just didn't remember. But I learned again that I like that. I like how punchy it gets. I didn't retouch these very much. But when we move over to the digital photos, obviously these are better, quote unquote. They're a lot sharper and cleaner photos. Partially that's because my scans were bad, as I mentioned. But they have less character to me. They're not as fun in that regard, even though, of course, they're better photos. I also learned again how much I love this lens, the 16 1.4 is just a beautiful lens, super sharp, and I love the focal range. It's about a 24mm equivalent. That's my favorite range, between 24 and 28 for street photography. I don't love the 40mm range that the Rollei gives me. It's a little too tight, but anyway, so that's really it. Thanks for coming on this little photo journey with me. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you didn't, why are you still watching? But either way, I hope that you'll subscribe and watch more in the future. And until then, later.